conversation about the plant-based lifestyle. We're excited to have Nancy Wind, a local health coach and yoga instructor, here to facilitate this evening. The microphone's starting to hum. Should I turn it off?
I don't know if we're going to need it.
It's more for the recording.
Oh, it's for recording?
Yes, I think it's the other without that one speaker.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Nancy has personally embraced a plant-based lifestyle, embracing her passion for seasonal cooking. Her interest in Ayurveda and living with the cycles of nature brings balance to her life and has become the prescription for her personal wellness. In 2015, Nancy founded PeaksandPoses Trail Yoga to combine her love for yoga and the outdoors. Spending time in nature soothes her soul and keeps her grounded, and she's excited to share her passions with others. So thank you to Nancy for convening this discussion. Please enjoy.
Oh, thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. So, welcome everybody. I mean, this is exciting to see, just like Sherry pointed out, like it's exciting for me that you're here because it shows me that there's an interest and an investment in your own health. And I think that plant-based is such a buzzword, no pun intended here, but, and so I created a little bit of a slide show, but just really as an, sort of a platform for us to have some discussions. I am by no means an expert. I'm really just somebody who's been discovering what plant-based means and just trying to, in so many ways, just better and take care of my own health and for those that I come in contact with. And that was one of the reasons why I got inspired to do this kind of talk, is that I just felt like, well, nobody else is doing it. And there's so much information out there. It's really hard to spend the amount of time to gather all the information and to sort of make sense of it. And again, I'm not an expert. I've sort of dabbled in some reading. I've dabbled in a lot of cooking. I just really kind of want to open up the discussion about it. As Courtney said, I am a local yoga instructor here at Roots and Wings. I got certified as a health coach a couple of years ago, and I have been leading a very dynamic group of people on a lot of sort of a transformational journey, with plant-based being part of some of the habits that I introduce people to in my year-long program. I'm also starting to do some kind of one-on-one coaching, sort of a plant-based coach for people who really maybe need a little bit more attention, maybe just to get yourself started. And then, like Courtney mentioned, I also have a trail yoga business where I lead people into the woods, mountains. We've been to Colorado. This summer we're going to go to Glacier National Park. And so I've been sort of integrating my hiking and my yoga passion. And the most awesome part about it is that we have a chef that comes along with us, and it's all plant-based meals. So I have some of my yoga instructors here. I have some of my friends here. And so I'm really eager to meet you. So if you can just, I really want to open up the discussion just to, I mean, there's a lot of people here, but if we can just take, 30 seconds for each person just to say who they are, where they're from, and sort of where you are in your discovery of plant-based. And there's really no right or wrong. It's just kind of where you're at today. So why don't we start with you?
Sherry Dorfman. I live in Wayland. I've been very interested in cooking since my daughter had gone off to college, so it's been a little bit of time and trying to eat very healthy. And I don't know the continuum of plant-based, but one of the things that I'd be interested in finding out about is the nightshade vegetables, because I have some food allergies, so it's one of the things that I want to learn more about.
Okay. I'm just going to take some notes from you guys.
Bob Smith. I live in Wayland. I've known Nancy for 25 years. We used to be neighbors before she left Wayland. I have one daughter that's been a vegetarian since she was 10. Another daughter has been living with a vegan for the last 4 years. And we've dabbled with going plant-based, and about 10 weeks ago I got turned on to a movie called Game Changer. Anybody has seen it? It And we've been living the last 10 weeks plant-based diet because of that movie. It's on Netflix.
I saw it.
Jane Kelly, I live here in Wayland. I love to cook, and I'm not a vegan or vegetarian, but I do cook a plant-based at home. All of my cooking at home is plant-based. I tend to eat fish or meat, generally not much meat if I go out, but at home, everything I cook is plant-based.
Jane's an amazing cook and baker.
I'm Amy Cowan, I live in Wayland, and my son is he was a vegan, but now he's more of a vegetarian, and they're trying to inspire us to be eating more plant-based. So my husband are trying that, and also he's also inspired his sister and his younger brother. So we're all trying to. They're very climate change believers. I mean, or we all are, and so they're really trying to get us all up on the move.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too, just the impact. It's not really only on your own health, but the impact on our environment and climate change.
My name is Bettina Masana. I live in Framingham. I've been a vegetarian for many years, but in the last several years, eating a more plant-based diet, not 100%, but really close. But I'm most interested in learning about eating with the seasons in Ayurveda.
Hi, I'm Deb Baksu. I live in Wayland, and it's interesting because I grew up in India, and our diet was, we ate a lot of fruits and vegetables, but along with that, I also grew up on fish and chicken and eggs and meats too. But it's right. Over the years, I've seen somehow, I've started honestly, I don't like the taste of chicken anymore. And I'm moving more towards plant-based diet. My one question that I had is, I have two sons. My 3-year-old, he actually loves his vegetables and fruits. He refuses to eat anything non-veg. He totally loves it. I mean, we've grown up from hearing that protein, animal protein is a good way for growing children. So I'd be interested to know, what are the kinds of fruits or vegetables or legumes that I can incorporate into my child's diet without really forcing him to eat things that he really doesn't want to eat. Because I don't believe that, you can only get it from animal proteins and not.
Sure. And I have some pictures too about protein and where you can get protein from. And sort of the myth behind protein. Yeah. Who's back there? Welcome.
Thanks. I'm John Weintraub, live here in Wayland, and I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm trying to get into a healthier diet without sugar and processed food and more vegetables. So I'm curious to learn more to what you want to talk about as far as protein replacement, as well as different sort of controversy around legumes and so forth.
I'm a vegetarian because I don't think it's right to kill the animals and then eat meat.
So glad you're here and have an opinion. It's so important. Glad you guys are here. It's great to see so many Wayland people and outside of Wayland. Really exciting. Good job, Courtney. Yeah. Nina.
My name is Nina. I'm from Natick. I'm one of Nancy's yoga students, and I've been hearing about her talks for a long time. I've been interested. I'm not a vegetarian. My husband is a carnivore, so I'm looking for ammunition to get him to eat less meat. Basically.
I'm Julie Schreider. I'm another of Nancy's yoga students, and I love to cook, but I'm not a great planner. So I'd love some ideas about just a plan and where to start and some inspiration.
Yeah, that can be tricky, especially when you're trying to make some changes, right? It really has to be really gradual, almost like replacement over time. But meal planning is probably one of the I think the key things that you can do in any diet that you have, so that when you go to the grocery store, you know really what you're buying. You know, like maybe you have, you know what you need to get, and you have some recipes for that, right? So organization is kind of key, because otherwise you sort of deviate from what your brain is telling you to eat. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, my name is Marisol. I live in Wayland. I'm not a vegetarian, but lately I've been trying to eat healthier, more vegetables and fruits. And I'm still eating meat, but not as much, probably twice a week or so. But I'm replacing it with seafood, which I'm trying to find the right balance. But I find that when I eat healthier, around 3 o'clock or so, I have a craving for something. So I'm just trying to figure out with a healthy diet, what can we like, and I'm eating enough so that I don't face this type of cravings, and so that I don't end up eating carbs or sweets or things like that. And also, how do I transition my diet so that like meaning it, I don't know if it completely, because it could be challenging, but it's possible, from eating meat to not eating meat. And I wonder if that's a very challenging transition as an adult versus a child, being a child or a teenager.
Yeah, so interesting. What's your name again? Back there, Maren. So it's amazing. You just have an opinion, right? You don't even have to show. There's no decision. Like, it's harmful to animals. She doesn't want any animal to be harmed. So easy, right? It'd be great if it could be like that way for us, right? That it's real heartfelt. So.
And have you been a vegetarian for a long time?
No, I just started this summer, and I'm starting to be a lot more serious.
Great first step. Yeah.
Well, it's your written talk. I'm just listening.
I'm Wendy from Framingham. I find grocery shopping to be overwhelming these days with all these products. I don't know if you all feel this way. I'm a kind of person, I'm very visual, and I don't like choices. I don't like seeing 25 kinds of English muffins, and I can't stand it. So it takes way too much time, and I don't know what to buy anymore, and I don't know what to eat anymore. I don't like eating in restaurants because I always get sick, always. I feel like I'm a pretty good cook, and I am trying to eat a lot more vegetables. For example, tonight I made a pot of butternut squash soup with turmeric in it, because turmeric is such a good spice. So I try to eat healthy, and I just would like a personal shopper to come with me to the supermarket.
We should talk after.
So that I don't spend so much time in the supermarket. Because I feel obligated to look at everything instead of just going to the vegetables, buying those, and then leaving the store. I feel like I have to see what's out there. What are these products? What is this? What is that? And that's why I don't go to DSW shoe store either. For the same reason, because I don't like looking at a lot of shoes.
Yeah. All right.
I'm Amy from Framingham, and I've come because I'm having trouble with vegetables. They're kind of bland, and I want to know what kind of spice goes with what kind of vegetables.
Great.
Ellen from Wayland. Just kind of wanted to get re-inspired. I used to be really good about being healthy when I was just cooking for myself, and kind of figure out, didn't mind spending a little extra because it was just for me, Cooking for a family, so much gets consumed that cutting up a lot of vegetables, and it takes a lot more time, and also trying to get full balanced nutrition. And I'm pregnant now, and I just don't feel like I'm, trying to figure out how to get the balance of everything, and want to get re-inspired to think of ways to do that.
Right. The back row.
Hi, I'm Sandy Stady. I'm from Wayland, and I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan. I am a health coach. I specialize in sports and exercise nutrition for student athletes. I also have a love for Ayurvedic medicine. I took a course at Kapala. Love that.
Nice.
I am a big believer in bioindividuality. What works for some may not work for others, and vice versa. And there's a lot of information out there, so I'm here to listen and learn.
Great. Nice to have you.
Lynn, Wayland, and my family is one vegan, 4 or 5 vegetarians, one who's, I would say, a mediterranean. One of my concerns is making sure B12 is a particular concern, calcium, or vitamins, and not concerned about breaking down. But on a vegan diet.
Great. We had some other people join us. I know Linda came in. Hi. Yeah. So, little
I'm
intro.
Linda. I've been a follower of Nancy's ever since she was my neighbor in Wayland. And my husband Bob and I were next door neighbors to Nancy. So I've enjoyed watching her grow and develop and become healthier and healthier and healthier. And that's what I want to be. So we're just trying now being more vegetarian. And I want more energy, mostly. I want less congestion in the body. And so less achiness in the muscles. And lower cholesterol. I'd like to learn how to have sandwiches on the go in the car, because I do eat my lunch in the car. And a salad, while juggling a salad bowl like I did today was a
That's
little
what you're
hard.
doing in the car?
What?
Driving and eating the
I'm
same
driving
time?
and eating, and I
That's
want to be
bad.
able to have a
That's
sandwich
bad.
and do that.
That's not
You
good.
love those.
I take my time.
You can't hold the bowl while you're driving.
You lost me.
Too long.
You'd be surprised. I got the
what
phone,
people
the
do.
steering wheel, the
Yeah.
salad bowl. It just is.
For one
Just
day.
behind Wendy, though, somebody else walked in. Taking off your coat.
Yeah.
Marie.
What's the question in general?
Just a little intro and just what you know. Are you on plant-based, or what you think about plant-based, or you're
Right
just
now
why
I'm
you're here?
pescatarian, and I don't know if I'll ever evolve away from that. I rely on eggs for my protein a lot, and I'm not really like super like keen about eliminating things, but I do know the difference between eating well and going off. And lately, apparently, I've not been. But still, I mean, I am very conscious and pretty happy with my choices so far.
Great. Yeah, well, we all start today where we are, right? And I mean, I just got so much information from all of you, and I tell you, you're all in like similar places, but lots of different inquiries into things that we may not necessarily hit upon today. And I would invite each one of you to just sign up and have a wellness call with me, because through my year-long program, I actually touch upon a lot of meal planning and simplifying recipes and why you shouldn't be driving and eating, and really just better habits for a healthier body, where you reduce inflammation, you get more energy, you have less achiness, and lots of, sort of those ailments that some people just accept as we get older, but don't necessarily need to have that as part of your life. And my program is, it's based on the wisdom and the principles of Ayurveda. It's through a habit changing class, which is based on behavioral science and psychology. But anyway, what I really want to just start with is I want to let you know that there's so many different definitions of what plant-based actually means. And so when I tell somebody that I'm plant-based, me personally, I haven't purchased beef or chicken in a really long time, but they're not 100%. Chicken is pretty much 100% eliminated from my own diet, but some red meat is not 100%. It's probably about 98%.
Can you share the thought process of why you eliminated chicken in particular?
Yeah, I did an Ayurveda cleanse several years ago, and when I started to reintroduce foods back into my diet, the thought of eating chicken just honestly totally repulsed me. I just couldn't, the texture of it, and it had no flavor to me. The same thing with eggs, but I brought eggs back and they come in and out. But that was what chicken just.
You didn't mention fish at all.
I do eat a little bit of fish. Not as much as I used to, but I did. I just had salmon today for dinner. So but let's see what some other people have to say. Like just Harvard Medical School. I love the pictures. So just like sort of look around too, thinking about like how to get inspired from a plant-based diet. So Harvard Medical School, plant-based or plant-forward eating patterns focus on foods primarily from plants. This includes not only fruits and vegetables, but this is also really important. Nuts, seeds, oils, like the oil from avocados, whole grain, legumes, and beans. It doesn't mean that you are vegetarian or vegan and never eat meat or dairy. Rather, you are proportionally choosing more of your foods from plant sources. Just one definition. Okay. Whoops. All right. So let's go back. And this is the Journal of Geriatric Cardiology. So we've got fruits, veggies, tubers, whole grains, legumes, and sort of
What's a tuber?
Like a potato, like the.
Sweet potatoes, yams, carrots, beets, maybe some of the root vegetables that we would sort of think about. A plant-based diet consists of minimally processed fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices, and excludes all animal products, including red meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy products. Again, just another definition. That's why there's like a lot of confusion out there, right? This would probably be considered vegan, that definition, right? Total elimination of anything that comes from an animal, even though you may not be killing an animal to eat it.
I have a question.
Sure.
About the food in this country versus the food in Europe, for example. Like we were in Switzerland, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and people were eating steak tartare and things that weren't cooked and thought nothing of it.
No, meat is not cooked.
Yeah, we were sitting there
Hamburger,
thinking, would
not
we do
cooked.
this
Yeah.
in this country?
But I didn't see them dying. So I think it's not too bad.
Yeah, you know what? Different cultures have different ways of eating. I know that when I was in Italy a few years ago, I found the food to be super fresh. Like everything is grown locally and sourced just within, could be 20, 50 miles from where we were. So that's really different than here, or at least in some parts of the country. So you have to consider things like that as well. So this is my mentor, Kate Stillman, from Yoga Healer. This is her community. And her definition is, if you want to be deeply nourished and receive abundance, tap into the consciousness of plants. Receive their gifts and give back your care for their protection. Shift from consumerism to collaboration. Eat an increasingly diverse plant-based diet. Connect your inner ecosystem, like your inner body, to your outer ecosystem, the environment, through eating a local or regional diet. She's a big forager. So, she is fortunate. She lives out in Idaho. So in her land, her land all around her are just wild weeds that she can just go and pick. We don't necessarily have that so easily, but I do know in Framingham, there's Stearns Farms. Has anybody done any talks or walks with the Sudbury Valley Trustee Organization? They're an amazing organization, conservation. And I did a foraging class with them, not this past summer, but the summer before. We went out to Stearns Farm, and we were foraging all of the weeds there that they didn't have like the power to pull. They're growing their garden vegetables, but we were able to pick like lamb's ear and, of course now I'm forgetting the name of them. all sorts of different wild weeds that you can put in a smoothie, you can put in a salad. So, and they would probably love, like if all of us went over there this summer and pulled out all their weeds so we could eat them, because they don't want to deal with it. So like you can find it. Some things do grow in your backyard, but you have to be careful about like, are you using pesticides? Are your neighbors using pesticides? You know, things like that. But out on that farm, it's an organic farm. It would be a great place to go and just do some foraging. But I think what Kate's also just, you know, sort of putting it out there to sort of like be a collaborator with your environment. Like be conscious of what's going on out there, like what's growing, where it's growing, what you can grow yourself, you know, just even in containers if you don't have a lot of land to, or you don't want the hassle of growing a garden.
Can you comment about organic versus not organic? What your thoughts are for that?
I'm not going to go there right now. Can we table that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so what's happening to us? I got a little video for you guys to watch.
This could be the first generation of children in the United States that lives less than its parents.
I got 2 pills I take for my diabetes, then I got 1 for cholesterol, high blood pressure, and then I take Ayurveda, which is an injectable.
I'm getting really shaky and I'm sick and I'm fatigued, and that's when they diagnosed me with hypertension and diabetes.
Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure cost this country more than $120 billion each year. People are saying, you're crazy, you're a cancer patient, you should be resting. Doctors told me this. When I had the second heart attack, the doctor said I should prepare for death.
Heart disease is an absolutely toothless paper tiger that need never ever exist.
People who were raised in Japan, the Philippines, Korea, China never had heart disease, prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis.
This is the atlas of cancer mortality in China. Virtually the Western diet was non-existent. They had no animal products, they had no dairy, no meat. We learned that we could turn on cancer growth just by adjusting the level of intake of that protein.
I knew at that point what caused most diseases.
Our national authorities are simply excluding this concept in order to protect the status quo. With the Western diet, there are going to be 500,000 people in this country this year who will have to have the front half of their body divided, their heart exposed. Some people would call that extreme. I know of nothing else in medicine that can come close to what a plant-based diet can do.
If you go through life thinking that what happens to you from a health perspective is based on your genes, you're a helpless victim. I reversed the diabetes. The diabetes is not coming back.
I just can't understand what it's done to change my life.
Diet is so much more important than anybody ever thought.
To me, the answer is so simple, it's criminal. It's just people starting to take responsibility for their health and starting to eat more plant-based foods. It's that simple.
Are you familiar with forks over knives?
No.
No. Write it down. Forks over knives. It's a website. It is they have meal planning there. They have recipes. You can follow them on Instagram.
Introduced,
They have cookbooks.
my topic is about nutrition.
Whoops.
Big topics, a word, a concept.
So that's T. Colin Campbell. So he wrote the book Undo It, right? That's the book that I had given you. So he's a doctor, professor, researcher out in California, and he has done all of these studies on reversing heart disease through a plant-based diet along with exercise. You know, it's not Campbell, yeah, and he was the one, I'm trying to think, sometimes I get him and Dr. Ornish confused. You might have the Ornish book. But T. Colin Campbell was the one that did the China study, which is a huge longitudinal study that they were referencing in this little clip about looking at the increase of certain diseases, particularly cancer, over in some of the Eastern countries. And they noticed that the diet of these young kids had changed so significantly that once they changed the diet back to, they took out all of the Western food and brought back their plants and their vegetables, their fruits and their local food, then they started to see the decrease of the cancer. So it's a huge study called the China study. I don't think. Okay, so that's, I mean, I look at that movie and why go plant-based? I mean, I love that little clip because the people that are so empowered by their own decision that they made to go plant-based, because their doctors were basically telling them, like, you're gonna die. And I mean, there was like, they weren't giving them any hope. And then they started to change their diet. They found a doctor or somebody that they could follow a specific diet, and they started to reverse their illnesses. So Marcos Borges is the author of The Green Print, which is one of the books that I have back there. He has, he started out being a doctor, but then pretty early on in his career, he felt like he was just not going to be aligning with Western medicine. So he became an exercise physiologist. And what he's been doing over the last number of years is working with people to gradually move towards a plant-based diet. It's a 22-day program for them. And he helps them, again, with meal planning and recipes. His book is fantastic. It's got some great recipes. Just giving them the support that they need. And sometimes within like a week, people will start talking about like their energy level has changed, the clarity in their brain function has changed. They've already dropped some weight. So just another example, just somebody else out there. It's called Green Print. Fabulous guy. Again, you can follow him on Instagram. But some of the reasons for going plant-based: your own health, saving our animals, and for the environment. So I'm just going to sort of take you through that. Any comments? Anybody have any sort of connections with any of the health-related issues or? Yes.
I have a question about the manufacturers of food in this country, that they keep adding sugar into everything. Sugar in tomato sauce, sugar in bread, sugar in coloring for kids, and I mean, it's how they can get away with doing this, and the cereals they come up with that kids would just be attracted to, with these marshmallows and with all this garbage in them.
Yeah, well, our diet has come a long way from what it was, back in. I grew up in the 60s, and that's when, fast food, everything became industrialized. So we could take our vegetables and we could can them, we could dehydrate them, we could freeze them, we could, things happen with refrigeration. And then we decided that we wanted to make things quicker and easier.
What about the modifying of foods? When did that start? The GMO.
We have the GMO.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a specific date for that, but
It's a problem.
yes.
Even oatmeal.
Yeah.
We think oatmeal is so healthy. Oatmeal has Roundup, the pesticides. I mean,
Yeah,
you
well,
can't win. You just, you look for alternatives, and it's really difficult to do this on your own. I mean,
right.
Yeah, about experiences. About 10 years ago, I used to run a lot, and I was having a lot of what I thought were injuries, and it turned out it was swelling in my joints from stuff I was eating that was causing problems. And I did a cleanse. I stopped eating meat, dairy, began eating a lot of vegetables, and I think I'm not as good about that now, and I can tell the difference. But back then, I already didn't need to lose weight. I lost a lot of weight. Found it just very difficult to find things I could eat. I also can't eat oils, fruit, because of allergies. And so that's my biggest thing too. Like, everywhere you go, it's all this stuff where there's a problem with everything, and how do you find things? And I would just eat just quinoa, or just big bowl of kale or something. Which gets difficult to eat enough of the volume, is what I found, unless you have the time and the money to go to the organic farm and spend a lot of time cooking and preparing. So that's what I found. So it's like I experience the benefits, but
Right.
how to make it workable.
Right, right. Yeah, that's the challenge, right? Having the time to prepare, to cut up all the vegetables.
And the other thing
Yeah,
too,
go ahead.
the other thing too with eggs, I was in Whole Foods the other day and I'm looking at the eggs, there's like so many cage-free eggs, Nellie's eggs, this egg, that egg, $5.99 eggs. It's like, hello, which egg, I mean, it just.
You
and
get
then-
decision fatigue.
And then you have the hard-boiled eggs that are already hard-boiled, which I don't understand where they come from. They're already in a package and they're hard-boiled. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the simpler you can make your recipes, the easier life is going to be. And I used to be somebody who I felt like I had to eat something different for lunch and for dinner, and then I had to eat something different every day. And I don't, and I'm just cooking for myself right now. So I might make something and eat it 2 days. But for me, I'm done after that because I feel like food really loses its own like prana, which is their life force.
The flavors of the food kind of goes a little
Yeah.
bland, I would say, like it becomes a little tasteless.
Yeah.
After a couple of days.
Yeah. But I have no problem right now making soup and eating soup for breakfast. I make roasted vegetables and quinoa and I eat it for breakfast. It's good food. Like I don't really care that one of my sons said there's no differentiation between any of your meals. And I said, fine.
Breakfast or comment, breakfast is something that I'm trying to change because I know that I can't keep eating cereals and I can't have yogurt, so it's a difficult meal.
Yeah.
To make those changes.
Yeah. And I'm also eating seasonally. So for me in the winter, I eat a lot of buckwheat groats or oatmeal, but pretty much buckwheat or quinoa in the morning. I don't really have that sweet tooth. I don't really want anything sweet in the morning. Even oatmeal sometimes. I have a spice mix that just hasn't like really jived with my taste buds in the morning. So I guess you just have to be a little creative. And I mean, one tip that I could give you for vegetables is I used to, and still do, I'll take one night and I'll look at my recipes and what I want to make and I'll have, gotten all the food and I'll just like chop all my vegetables in one night. And I just put them all in different containers and put them in the fridge that way. So when I come home at night, I don't have to then start to chop the vegetables and the garlic and the onion because that will be like, I don't want to do that. And then I'll go find something else to eat, which is not a good choice. So like the more prepared you can be and the more organized you can be, you're going to start to make better choices for yourself. It's not going to happen overnight, but yeah.
I have a question.
Oh, hang on 1 second, okay? Because Linda, would you have something to say?
The grains in the morning, are they enough protein or do you need to add some protein to it? Are they high in carbs?
Well, buckwheat has some good protein in it, and so does quinoa. But here's the myth about protein. Do you know anybody who's protein deficient?
No.
What do you think we are
blood sugar in the morning?
deficient in our diet?
What are we deficient in? Vitamins.
Yes.
Calcium.
Begins with an F. Fiber. Like you hear like fiber deficient, take this, fiber deficient. You want to be able to move your bowels, fiber deficient. So what has like an incredible amount of fiber in? Vegetables.
And grains.
Fruits, vegetables. Yeah. So like if you're going to eat a plant-based diet, which again is you could call it moving towards plant-based or more plant-based forward, you're going to get the fiber, right? You're going to be eliminating on a regular basis, which is like the best thing that you can do for your body.
But don't worry about carbohydrate breakfast. It's not going to spike your blood sugar. You don't need an egg with it.
So, no, but I also live an Ayurveda lifestyle. And so in Ayurveda, they don't look at protein, carbs, and fat and things like that. They look at qualities of food and the taste of food. And there's 6 tastes of food. So I look at more whether I'm having something bitter, astringent, sweet, sour, salty, and pungent. Those are the 6 tastes. So.
Do you find that eliminates your craving for sweet things.
Mm-hmm. When you can balance out your different tastes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think most, in America, we have a very high addiction to sugar. And the more you eat sugar, the more you want sugar.
Can you spell Ayurveda so I can?
Sure. Ayurveda. Yeah. So if everyone were to adopt a whole food, plant-based diet, I really believe we could cut healthcare costs by 70 to 80%. T. Colin Campbell. He's a biochemist, professor, best known for his project called the China Study. Eating you alive. Start discovering your own health. Don't settle for this is the way it will be. Let's see if that's a movie. I have a couple little clips for you guys.
People aren't living longer, they're dying longer. I was in my 49th year, and it occurred to me I wasn't going to see 50.
I was flat on a gurney in a hospital, and they were debating, do I have triple bypass?
The doctor told us, you're in stage 4 kidney failure. 6 months you'll be in dialysis, or you'll be dead.
When you feel like your life, you're out of control. And they were not giving me any hope at all.
Every 34 seconds, someone in the United States has a heart attack. New government data shows people in the South have the highest risk of dying from cancer. 1 in 3 women will die of heart disease. The obesity rate in America, not better.
If you just see one patient with a heart attack, then another patient with high blood pressure, another patient with diabetes, at some point you got to just back up and say, what is causing all of this?
The system is set up to reimburse kind of pills and procedures. You get paid to do things, okay? You don't get paid if your patients get better.
We're taught to treat diseases after they occur. We're not taught how to prevent them in the first place.
The pharmaceutical community has their hooks way too deeply in the government.
The food industry, which is a $1 trillion industry, uses very similar kind of tobacco-style techniques, paying off scientists and funding studies.
What we know from cigarette smoking is the public doesn't like to be lied to.
We had the cure. We've had it for decades.
The doctor said this woman alleges to have lupus, but we're not finding any evidence of it.
It's really nice to do things when you get results.
It's the best thing that ever happened to me. It saved my life.
Doctor says you're no longer diabetic.
Another website.
People aren't living.
Okay, so not to be depressing, right? Food for thought here. Just to be able to take your own health in your own hands, right? And so don't think about what you ate for dinner, what you ate yesterday, right? Just think about sort of moving forward, how you can make some different kinds of decisions for yourself and for your family. So for the animals, so plant trainers, they are a husband and wife. They're up in Toronto, they're up in Canada. And they have a great podcast called Plant Trainers. They're both vegan. The husband, I think when he was in his early 40s, was very close to having a heart attack. And that just changed his life, right? He wasn't vegan before that. But he had a very close experience to death. And that's what sort of prompted him to take a look at his diet and his lifestyle. The beef industry has contributed to more American deaths than all the wars of this century, all natural disasters and all automobile accidents combined. Thinking about eating meat and what it is doing to our bodies. Food Revolution is another website. Again, you can follow them on Instagram. Modern factory farms provide continuous low doses of antibiotics to billions of livestock. This creates the perfect conditions for breeding antibiotic-resistant bacteria. And most pathogens that cause food poisoning originate within the intensive confinement-based livestock production methods used in factory farming. And I think for me, what I really just starting to pay more attention to is just the way the animals are raised. Like their living conditions are just horrendous. I mean, this is nothing. Like I watched some videos. I'm like, there's no way that I could share this with people because it's just horrendous.
Does this mean that you shop at places like Whole Foods by choice? Okay.
Yeah. And also just how they take care of the animals, how they pump them up with the antibiotics, the steroids. So whatever the animal is ingesting, it goes into their muscle, their meat, and that's what you're eating. It's not like that medicine is differentiated. It's not like it's poofed out or peed out or something like that. That is in their system. And so that's what we're eating.
Nancy, another.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but another
Go ahead.
concern along that lines to me is that unless you're buying grass fed, that a lot of the meat that we're buying, whether it be chicken or beef, is all fed corn. So you are essentially just eating corn and protein in
a different way, right? Right. And we're going to get into this really in the climate, but to your point is that there's a very large percentage of our land that is used for factory farming. So we're growing the corn to feed to the animals so that we can kill the animals and we can eat the animals. Like, I don't know, like it's just not making sense to me anymore. The more I think about it, it's like the animals are the middleman, right? We can take all that land and we can grow food for ourselves. And just like you said, whatever they're eating, that's what we're eating. Like we don't even get, I think the Game Changers, the movie The Game Changers brings this up, is that we're actually not, the protein that we get from the animals is actually the protein from the plants that they're eating. It's like animals don't have the protein. They're eating the protein. And then we're eating them and we think that we're getting protein from them, but we're really getting just the food that they're eating. Does that make sense? So it's like if we eliminated the animal, then we can grow all the food and then we can get the protein directly from the food. So these are just my, like, I'd say in the last 6 months, my revelation. I think it's a lot from what I'm reading and the people that I'm talking to and just having conversations with, you know, people like you. So, let's see. Yeah, worldwide we use about 8 times as much land to grow food for animals as we do to grow food directly for humans. The largest analysis to date on how farming damages the planet informed us that avoiding meat and dairy is the single best way to reduce your environmental footprint. So that's, you know, that is huge. In the Green Print book, I was reading with what Marcos Borges said, and if you wanted to reduce your own footprint, go plant-based. Like, don't go and buy the Prius or any other kind of electric car. You can, but you can have a greater impact on our climate and our climate change by moving towards a plant-based diet. Even if you did 1 meal a day, because that's what he really specifies. Have you guys heard of Meatless Monday? Right? So Meatless Monday, just 1 meal on Monday. Just eliminate your meat, right? And then gradually add another meal.
This is so interesting because in India, in the culture itself, they put religious reasons for it, but it's actually not religious. They have like a few days of the week where you can like optionally decide to be vegetarian and not eat any meat at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they somehow put it as a religious thing, which kind of probably makes people follow it more.
Right, right.
But actually it comes from this, I believe, that you know, sort of go back to your basic plant-based things and keep your body like from inflammation or whatever, like things that animal protein still.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, huh?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How is intermittent fasting integrated or associated with a plant-based diet? Like what kind of effect or impact does it have if people fast?
I know lots of people that I just know through sort of my own health coaching and follow like an Ayurveda lifestyle, and intermittent fasting is big, or meal spacing. So that's where you would have a certain amount of hours after your last meal and then your meal in the morning. I don't know. The only thing I can think of with plant-based is that if you are eating, enough of the taste and enough of, I would say from Ayurveda, enough of the food that's going to keep you in balance for your own constitution, right? So for your own sort of like DNA, in Western terms, then it shouldn't have any impact. Like you should be able to space out your meals. In fact, for digestive reasons, Ayurveda encourages you, and their philosophy is to have meal spacing and not to be eating, 6 little meals a day. It's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? So your body consumes, your body digests, your body eliminates, and then it rests. And then it gets hungry again. Your digestive system, they call it your Agni, gets, activates again. And it's like, oh, I'm hungry because it's lunchtime. And also having your largest meal during the day is recommended because, for lots of reasons, and a little bit off topic, but that's when when your own digestive fire is at its highest, right? Because you reflect what's going on, the energy of the day. The sun is highest in the sky. That's when the sun is the most potent, and that's when your digestive system is the most powerful. And so you'd want to have your largest meal during the day so that you're able to digest it and not like have it at 7 or 8 o'clock at night where then you go to sleep.
Which is what most of us do, have big dinners.
Yeah, it's so
Families
Western.
together, and we just end up eating more.
Yep. And in my course, in my program, we talk a lot about that because that's probably one of the hardest habits to break, is because it's just a very cultural thing here for us to sort of gather at the end of the evening and have a large meal. We can still gather, right? That's sort of the energy of the day, is to connect and gather, but thinking about what you're eating and sort of the impact on like your sleep. I love this website. I'm just going to get back to this because this is a climate change food calculator, and I'm not going to do it, but you could go in here and you could put in like what food, which food you like, say like avocados, how often do you have it, 3 to 5 times a week, and doesn't do it. It tells you like your greenhouse gas emissions for all the different foods that you're eating. It was just kind of like a fun thing. I bet like maybe kids would have a good time with this as well. And so you can see like certain foods that you would eat and have less of an impact on the environment.
What about coffee?
I haven't had coffee in 30 years, so I don't know that much about coffee.
Well, I drink coffee all the time, but I'm just wondering.
What would you want to know about it?
I don't want to know anything. I just want to.
Now, people love it.
You hear somebody listening, I just, I wake up in the morning, I have coffee. 10 o'clock, I have coffee. Just
Yeah,
I don't know if it's good or bad. But I'm healthy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went 70 years on Earth, so it's fine now.
I'd say everything in moderation and know why you're having your cup of coffee and what the impact it has on you. Like I'm always looking at something that I might eat or something that I might drink, and then the effect that it has on me. If you're staying up and you can't fall asleep at night, maybe you could reduce your coffee. But if you have a couple cups of coffee or 1 cup of coffee a day, and maybe you don't have trouble sleeping.
One? No, forget about that. I'd be falling asleep. I can't do that.
All right. Well, here is
Humans love meat. Steak, fried chicken, bacon, pork belly and sausages are just the best things. Eating meat has become so trivial that many people don't consider something a proper meal if there's no animal involved. Which is pretty amazing, since only a few decades ago, meat was a luxury product. Today, you can get a cheeseburger for $1. Paradoxically, meat is pretty much the most inefficient way of feeding humans. If we look at it on a global scale, our meaty diet is literally eating up the planet. Why is that? And what can we do about it without giving up steak? Humans keep a lot of animals for food. Currently, about 23 billion chickens, 1.5 billion cattle, and roughly 1 billion pigs and sheep. That's a lot of mouths to feed, so we've transformed Earth into a giant feeding ground. 83% of its farmland is used for livestock, for example as pasture, and to farm fodder crops like corn and soy. That's 26% of Earth's total land area. If we include the water we need for these plants, meat and dairy production accounts for 27% of global freshwater consumption. Unfortunately, meat production is like a black hole for resources. Since animals are living things, most of their food is used to keep them alive while they grow their tasty parts. Only a fraction of the nutrients from fodder crops end up in the meat we buy in the end. Cows, for example, convert only about 4% of the proteins and 3% of the calories of the plants we feed to them into beef. More than 97% of the calories are lost to us. To create 1 kilogram of steak, a cow needs to eat up to 25 kilos of grain and uses up to 15,000 liters of water. Animal products are guzzling up tons of food, but they only make up 18% of the calories humans eat. According to projections, we could nourish an additional 3.5 billion people if we just ate the stuff we feed to animals. To make our favorite food group even more unsustainable, about 15% of all greenhouse gas emissions caused by humans are created by the meat industry, as much as by all ships, planes, trucks and cars combined. And there's another aspect to meat. It comes from actual living beings. Pigs, cattle and chicken are not the ones writing the history books, but if they were, humans would appear as rampant genocidal maniacs that thrive on suffering. Globally, we kill about 200 million animals every day, about 74 billion a year. This means that every 1.5 years, we kill more animals than people have lived in the entire 200,000-year history of humanity. One could argue that we're doing them a favour. After all, they wouldn't exist without us. We might eat them in the end, but we also provide food and shelter and the gift of existence to them. Unfortunately, we're not very nice gods. A lot of our meat comes from factory farms, huge industrial systems that house thousands of animals. Engineered to be as efficient as possible, they have little regard for things like quality of life. Most pigs are raised in gigantic windowless sheds and never get to see the sun. Sows are kept in pens too small to turn around, where they give birth to one litter of piglets after another until it's their turn to be turned into bacon. Dairy cows are forced to breed continually to ensure their milk supply, but are separated from their calves hours after birth. To fatten up beef cattle for slaughter, they're put in feedlots, confined pens where they can't roam, and put on weight more quickly. To make it possible to keep them so tightly together without dying of diseases, the majority of antibiotics we use are for livestock, up to 80% in the US, which helps in the short term, but also fuels antibiotic resistances. But the ones that may have got the worst deal are chickens. In factory farms, they're kept in such vast numbers and so close to each other that they can't form the social structures they have in nature, so they start attacking each other. To stop that, we cut their beaks and claws. Male chickens are deemed worthless since they can't lay eggs and are not suitable for meat production, so within minutes after birth, they're usually gassed and shredded in grinders. Several 100 million baby chickens are killed this way each year. Even if you had a personal score to settle with chickens, how we treat them is beyond broken. So, better buy organic meat, where animals are treated nicely, right? Organic farming regulations are designed to grant animals a minimum of comfort. The problem is that organic is an elastic term. According to EU regulations, an organic hen still might share 1 square metre of space with 5 others. That's a long way off from happy farmyard chickens. Farms that sincerely do their best do exist, of course, but meat is still a business. An organic label is a way to charge more money, and countless scandals have revealed producers looking for ways to cheat the system. And while organic meat might be less cruel, it needs even more resources than conventional meat production. so buying organic is still preferable, but does not grant you moral absolution. The truth is, if suffering were a resource, we would create billions of tons of it per year. The way we treat animals will probably be one of the things future generations will look down on in disgust. While all these things are true, something else is true too. Steak is amazing. Burgers are the best food. Chicken wings taste great. Meat satisfies something buried deep in our lizard brain. We hardly ever see how our meat is made, we just eat it and love it. It creates joy, it brings us together for family meals and barbecue parties. Eating meat doesn't make you a bad person, not eating meat doesn't make you a good one. Life is complicated, and so is the world we've created. So, how should we deal with the fact that meat is extremely unsustainable and a sort of horrible torture? For now, the easiest option is opting out more often. Taking a meat-free day per week already makes a difference. If you want to eat meat produced with less suffering, try to buy from trusted producers with a good track record, even if it costs more. To make an impact on the environment, go for chicken and pig rather than lamb and beef, as they convert their feed more efficiently into meat. And if you're going to have your steak, you should eat it too. An average American throws out nearly a pound of food per day, a lot of which is meat. In the future, science could get us clean meat. Various startups have successfully grown meat in labs and are working on doing so on a commercial scale. But solutions like this are still a few years away. For now, enjoy your steak, but also respect it. And if you can, make it something special again. We have something else for you that's also special and tastes even better than steak. We get asked a lot how we make our videos. We thought we'd just show you. Kurzgesagt teamed up with...
So some interesting information there. We talk a little bit about organic. Not. The thing that I take away from is, what they say about sort of the trusted farmer. Like if you really want your meat, your chicken, find a local farm. And if you are starting to cut back, then, look at, obviously you have to look at your budget, but if it costs a little bit more, but you're only eating it once or twice a week versus, having meat and chicken 5 days a week or 6 days a week, and you're buying it at a place, that's factory farmed, you can take those into consideration.
What's the difference with that? Fish. Fish and that is.
I know, haven't even gotten into fish, but
Huh?
some people won't eat fish because it's killing of an animal. But then there's also, I don't know enough about it, but there's, farmed fish as well, and also
Wild fish is better, I think.
Yeah, because some of
and then
the-
there's,
some of the
But only
fish
the
that
right
you
wild
can-
fish.
mercury and
Not the ones that is disappearing.
Now they're supposed to be plastic in fish.
I mean, we're in a little bit of a dilemma. So, like, sometimes for me, it's just easier not to eat anything. Just keep with my plants. It's 8:00. So let me. Actually, I'm gonna skip this because I know some of you are asking about like proteins and things like that. So this is just this is really interesting. Canada changed their food plate, and they eliminated dairy from their food plate 100%. And I just have a link here you can click on. You can check out Canada. So half their plate now is fruits and vegetables, and then they have a quarter of it is protein, and then they have whole grains, and their drink of choice is water. The U.S. has changed their food plate. It's not really a pyramid anymore, right? It's a plate, and you can see like vegetables is bigger. There's fruits, there's grains, there's protein, and they now have taken dairy and moved it outside. So just some, cool stuff.
If you have dairy outside, then what's the thought about calcium?
You can get calcium through other ways. You can get calcium through some green vegetables. So you just really want to monitor that or take a calcium supplement.
What about all the plant milks, almond milk, oat milk, all these things that are on the market? What do you think about that?
I make my own almond milk. I've made oat milk. It's super easy to make it,
In a
and
blender?
yep, you can just put it in a blender, just soak some almonds and add almond and water. Then I add.
The problem with almonds is that it uses huge amounts of water to produce the almonds, and they also use huge amounts of pesticides. So
Is that just almond milk?
yes,
Almonds.
almonds in general from California.
To make almonds.
To
grow the
almonds in
almonds.
California, they use huge amounts of water.
So the alternative is what?
So you could do oat milk. You could make you can make hemp milk. Yeah, oat milk. You just take oats and blend them up. You can find recipes online, and then you just add water to it. You can also make cashew milk. Cashews.
Do you think what's the benefit of drinking that? For protein?
Some people do.
Right.
People
Well,
have
well,
allergies,
almonds.
lactose allergies.
Almonds would have more protein in it, but you're not drinking milk from a cow.
Dairy alternative.
It's not. Yeah, it's a dairy alternative. I'm just going to skip that video for now, but where will I get my protein? So don't worry, we're not protein deficient, we're fiber deficient. So here's 5 top plant-based proteins. You have lentils, hemp seeds, quinoa, spirulina, and nutritional yeast. So how many of you have hemp seeds or eat hemp seeds?
It's chewy
just a
and
few.
nutty and easy to chew.
Yeah,
It's
you can just
really
throw them on
a little
anything.
tasteless, I think, a little bit.
They're a little earthy, right? That's the way
They're
I
not
think of it.
strong flavored.
Right. Nutritional yeast is also huge in sort of people who have a vegan diet because it has a lot of protein in it. I've taken nutritional yeast and also mixed it in with roasted. I roast my own sunflower seeds and then I'll blend that up. And it's a nice topping for food. Sometimes I just can't handle just the nutritional yeast.
Out of the 5 that you have there,
Okay.
is it lentils also very gassy?
Lentils, they can be for some people, but you could soak them. You could soak them overnight. That releases some of the air and some of the gas. You could try that. So we have a plant-based protein chart. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we have chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, quinoa, walnuts, almonds, peanuts down below. And we have some greens, asparagus, spinach, broccoli, kale, spirulina, black beans, kidney beans. And we have rolled oats, baked potato, sweet potato, brown rice, chickpeas, red lentils, and green lentils.
When you look at that, Val, do you focus in on some that you think are better?
You can. I just have a variety. Like if I make oatmeal, if I make like oatmeal or overnight oats, I'll throw chia seeds in there. I'll also throw sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds in there and maybe some almonds. So I try to like, in my red lentils, I would probably combine that with some other vegetables, cauliflower or kale. So I think if you try to mix some of them or just really try to have a variety. I think they're.
From soybeans and soy.
What's that?
Do you stay away from soy and soybeans?
I don't really eat soybeans. I might have tofu, but not a whole lot. I just
Because
don't.
what negative views on that from soybeans? I mean, putting it in so many different things. It's another thing. I was just curious if another thing sort of stay away from.
Yeah, some people. I mean, there were studies with soy and the increased levels of estrogen, right, and cancer
Should we
producing.
limit soy?
Yeah. So
Women should limit soy.
right. So I just don't really have a lot of it. I might have tofu like once a month. I used to probably eat it more. All right, so hang on. Let me just go back to this video just to show what do I eat. The only thing that I don't like about this video is, and I find this with people who's like, well, I'm vegan. A lot of people who say that they're vegan, they also have like a really poor diet. When they say they're vegan, it doesn't mean they're just eating vegetables, but they're like, they'll eat pasta, like, galore, or, a lot of sweets. So for me personally, I love the video because it does give you some ideas, but I think there's like heavy duty sweets in this one. But it's just kind of fun. It's super loud and I can't change that. So that comes from Forks Over Knives. So that's a good idea of like such the variety that you can have.
One of the things that I do when I'm in Whole Foods, for example, is if I see something that looks good in the area where you take away, I just take a picture of it to get an idea about putting some new things together.
Pre-made.
Oh, from the pre-made?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a
good
great
idea.
idea. Yeah.
She gets so stuck in picking the same things and putting them together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know we're running over a little bit of time. So, I mean, I said lifestyle. I just want to put a little plug in here because for me, once I started going plant-based, I think in just sort of my journey, I've just become so much more aware of the impact on the environment and just little things that I've been able to do in my own home just to have less of a, of an imprint. I use cloth napkins. I can't remember the last time I bought napkins. I use very little paper towels. I use the beeswax wrap in addition to some glass.
What is that?
Beeswax wrap? It looks like a piece of paper, but it's made out of beeswax, and you can use that for food storage. So I don't use a lot of like Ziploc bags. I mean, I have some, but just again, just more mindful of like what's going in my trash, what I'm recycling. I have a lot of cosmetics that, are all actually vegan and there's no harm to the animals. They have no animal products in it. It's almost like you could eat.
The other important one that you can do is composting.
Oh, I'm
We
going to
do
put that on
actually
there.
have a program running in Wayland with black earth composting where rather than putting your food waste into your trash where it goes to the landfill and produces a lot of greenhouse gases, you collect it and it gets picked up every week and then it goes to make compost. And then that makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Picks up your compost?
Yeah, they pick it up every week. Yeah. And you don't put any food waste in your trash. Everything you have, eggshells, coffee grounds, any leftovers, all your peelings, everything goes into a tub, and then they pick it up every week.
They have that in Natick also. Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
mentioning that because I have a
Natick-
compost pile, so I
Yeah.
compost my own, but I have to add that. Natick has.
Natick is compulsory, as is Newton, and more towns are making it compulsory that you don't put any food waste in your trash. Because landfill, a huge amount of landfill is food waste.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's a huge greenhouse gas emission.
Right.
Whereas with composting, it isn't.
So we could have,
If anybody wants to find out more from me about the black earth composting afterwards,
Yeah. And it was interesting in that movie about meat too, how they said how much meat is wasted.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's all going to landfill as well.
Yeah. Reusable produce bags, reusable drinking bottles. I've even, just done a lot of consignment shopping now. So I'll not always go out and buy new clothes, but I'll go to a couple of different consignment shops and just sort of reuse, repurpose. Again, it's just being more mindful in so many different ways. And that's to me like the lifestyle. I have a little picture of just some of the books. Eating unhealthy food is like buying everything on a credit card. You'll have to pay for it one day. He was in the Game Changers movie. He's there are a lot of athletes and endurance athletes right now that are all plant-based. Yeah. So he's one of them. So what's next? I just want to leave you with this. No matter how unhealthy your lifestyle has been in the past, your body still has amazing powers to recuperate and to recover and to thrive. So like I said before, like don't walk out here feeling guilty. Just feel like, you know, today's like it was a whole new experience, and tomorrow is a whole new day. And you know, what I really wanted to do is just bring some thought to people's minds and to raise the consciousness level of people, whether it's for your health, whether it's for the environment, you know, whether it's for climate change, which is really huge. I don't know if you guys have any closing thoughts. I'm just so excited that we packed the room.
How do we get in touch with you and join you in a cooking class?
Yeah, so thank you, Linda, for bringing that up. So I did mention my health coaching, and I've got a sign-up sheet in the back over there with some things that you can check off. But I am leading people through a year-long program, and again, it's based in Ayurveda principles and habit changing, and I do a lot of coaching along the way, and there's a whole sort of group dynamic part to it. So if you want some information on that, you can sign up for a complimentary wellness call. But I'm also doing some cooking workshops I've done them out in the public, but I'm doing them in people's homes. Like I have one in February in Natick. And so if that's of interest to you, just to grab some friends and have me come and do a little bit of cooking, a little bit of, tips, again, like what I was talking about with like meal planning and when to chop your vegetables and share some recipes. I love doing that. I love spending time in the kitchen and sharing that with people. I also have some hiking and yoga retreats coming up. So you can grab one of my business cards, PeaksandPoses.com. We go up to New Hampshire. I've got 2 trips up in New Hampshire, and then this summer it's actually filled, but we're going out to Glacier National Park for a week this summer with our chef. And he cooks on some of our retreats up in New Hampshire. And what else? You could always drop in at Roots and Wings and join Nina and Judy and I on Tuesday afternoon for some yoga. And did that answer your question?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Closing thoughts.
Thank you for this. I found it very informative.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for